Hello, I'm Monita Rajpal in Hong Kong. Welcome to Newsstream, where news and technology meet. 90 minutes from now, church bells will ring across the United States. Much of the nation will observe a moment of silence to honor victims of a massacre at this elementary school in Newtown, Connecticut. A gunman killed 20 students and 6 adults there exactly 1 week ago before taking his own life. The city has been in mourning ever since. Funerals are still being held, and most of the victims were just 6 or 7 years old, and that has shocked the country and seems to be stirring more widespread calls for action than perhaps after similar shooting tragedies. Vice President Joe Biden met with cabinet members and law enforcement officials to discuss gun law reforms. President Obama says he wants action he can take to Congress in January. In a couple of hours, the National Rifle Association will comment on the school shooting. So far, the gun rights group has only said it's heartbroken by the horrific and senseless murders. Anti-NRA protests are expected. Nearly 200,000 people have petitioned the White House for laws limiting access to firearms. President Obama has just released a video in response. And Mr. Obama will join many other Americans in observing a moment of silence next hour. Poppy Harlow joins us now from Newtown, Connecticut with more on that. Poppy.
Monita, I think the best way to describe what's going to happen here today is...
Yeah, that's probably the perfect sentiment indeed. All right, Poppy, thank you very much. Poppy Harlow there in Newtown in Connecticut. Authorities are still trying to figure out why and how this tragedy occurred. They say 20-year-old Adam Lanza took 3 guns to Sandy Hook Elementary and shot his way into the locked building. He killed himself after opening fire on those students and teachers. He lived at this home with his mother. The medical examiner says Lanza shot her in the head while she slept. Officials say before leaving the house, Adam Lanza apparently smashed his computer. Investigators still have not been able to retrieve any information from it. But Lanza seems to have no social media footprint. People who knew Lanza describe him as quiet and socially awkward. CNN has not been able to independently confirm if he was diagnosed with a form of autism, but experts say the disorder could not be blamed for the rampage. Dr. Sanjay Gupta has more on that.
Asperger's is a type of autism. Now, doctors call autism a neurodevelopmental disorder, not a mental illness. That's important. It's something you're born with.
Still ahead here on Newsstream. Welcome back. Tensions are again running high in Egypt, 1 day ahead of the second stage of voting in a new constitution. Opponents of the charter say it gives Islam too prominent a role in what they believe should be a more secular state. But in the first round of voting last weekend, supporters say the draft garnered 57% support, backed by the ruling Freedom and Justice Party under President Mohamed Morsi. Now, the second vote is widely expected to go the same way. Already, scuffles have broken out today. NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen says the Syrian regime is using Scud-type missiles against rebel forces. He calls it the action of a desperate regime approaching collapse. This, as a newly released report by the United Nations finds the war is becoming increasingly sectarian. Meanwhile, the violence continues unabated. About 100,000 Palestinians are believed to have fled Syria after their refugee camp in Damascus. CNN's Istanbul bureau. Let's start talking about that Scud missile report that's being used, supposedly being used by the regime against rebels.
Well, a Turkish diplomat confirms to CNN that...
Ivan, thank you. Ivan Watson there in Istanbul. Since the conflict began, we have seen countless videos shot by Syrian rebels battling troops loyal to Bashar al-Assad. But now, a rare look at the Syrian army's perspective. Alex Thompson of the UK's Channel 4 News was allowed to follow those forces near Damascus.
Doesn't look much, does it? But being able to film openly...
Join us for a CNN special that goes to Syria's most deadly streets. Ara Damon brings you the personal stories from Newsstream, and this is a visual rundown of the stories that we're covering on the show. We have taken a look at Newtown, Connecticut, where a moment of silence will be held there for the victims of the tragedy. We've also talked about Syria. Later, we'll tell you why some of Italy's most historic sites are at risk. But now we want to turn to India, where a brutal gang rape in New Delhi has triggered protests nationwide. The 23-year-old victim was attacked on a bus last last Sunday, and she remains hospitalized in critical condition. Her male companion was badly beaten. A total of 5 arrests have now been made. The horrific attack has ignited a debate about women's rights across the country, but for some, words are not enough. Malika Kapoor reports.
Many young women, one loud voice.
The end is here, or not. After the break, we scientifically debunk another December 21st doomsday theory. 21st marks the end of a major cycle on the Mayan calendar, but to some, it also marks the end of days, the apocalypse. Don't ask us why. And according to many of the doomsayers, it should have happened over 2 hours ago. So it happens the world is not going to end today. And over the last few days, we've been looking into the science that debunks a variety of theories on the Earth's purported demise. Planetary collisions, polar shifts, and the list goes on. Well, today, we'll tell you another reason why the so-called doomsday is just another day. So killer asteroid or not, we know today is not the end of the world, but thousands of people have flocked to the Mayan ruins in Chichen Itza in Mexico. Nick Parker is one of them. He joins us now live. Nick, I'm still here, and so are you.
Okay. It would certainly appear that we are, yes, indeed. You know, and so are thousands of other people that have flocked, as you say.
I kind of like the idea of ending one chapter and starting something new. Nick, that was a really great piece. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsstream. Nick Parker there live for us from Chichen Itza. Well, it is officially winter for those of us here in the Northern Hemisphere. Mari Ramos is at the World Weather Center with that, and many, especially in the U.S., are feeling it, Mari.
That's right, they certainly are feeling it. You know, I want to mention a couple things. It is, of course, the solstice that has a lot to do with this whole Mayan calendar.
Good advice indeed, Mari. Be weather aware. Thank you very much for that. Mari Ramos at the World Weather Center. Just ahead, we've got the latest news from the NBA, including which team stole the Thunder's thunder. Well, after 12 wins on the bounce, Oklahoma City's record streak in the NBA has ended. We join Alex Thomas in London with more on that and the other sports headlines today. Alex.
Hello again, Monita. They were the team that pushed the Miami Heat all the way before missing out on the world.
And what's that?
Chocolates.
So predictable. So much more. Thanks a lot for that, Alex. Appreciate it. And I didn't get my batch of chocolates from you, by the way, just so you know. I'm still waiting. Alex Thomas in London, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. Coming up next here on Newsstream, recovered from battle. Rome's famous Colosseum is one of many historic sites in the city. They've survived for hundreds, if not thousands of years, but there's a new threat. Ben Wiedemann explains.
In Rome, dig and you're likely to find something.
It's time for us now to go over and out there. Well, it may be the season to be jolly. For millions of us, year after year, our jolliness is put to the test by these guys, Brussels sprouts. They are often a traditional part of any Christmas meal, but for some of us, when they appear on the table, our hearts just sink, and many of our hands sink below the table as we discreetly feed these crimes against Christmas to the family dog. But if you're looking for an excuse not to eat them, well, we bring you not one, but two this year. On the one hand, there's a shortage in places like the UK where rain and cold conditions have wreaked havoc on the sprout harvest. So this Christmas, or dessert in my case. That is Newsstream. I'm Monita Rajpal. The news continues here at CNN. World Business Today is next.